Most people think working the night shift at a cemetery is just a matter of keeping vandals away, maybe scaring off the occasional trespasser. But when I walk between the mossy tombstones and crumbling statues, flashlight in hand, I know my job is something else entirely. The rules here aren't suggestions, they're survival. Lock the gates at 9. Don't open them until dawn. And above all, never, ever speak to the figures you see inside after dark. It sounds simple, but every night, as the wind sighs through the trees and shadows pool between the graves, temptation slithers in. Sometimes it's a woman in a tattered dress, her eyes wide with loss, asking if I've seen her brother. Sometimes it's a boy, pale and frantic, begging to be let out because the voices won't stop. They look so real. They sound so desperate. Ignore them, I remind myself. Don't let them out. Don't say a word. I learned that lesson the hard way. Years ago, a teenager broke in for a dare, the infamous graveyard run. He pleaded for help, tears streaming down his cheeks. But I walked away. The next morning, I found what was left of him near the gate. That's when I understood. Cemeteries don't just hold the dead. They hold everything that lingers between life and death, and it's my job to make sure it stays that way. The worst mistake anyone can make is to speak. I saw it once. A new guard, young and eager, let his guard down. When one of them sneezed, he said, "Bless you." That was all it took. The thing's smile split impossibly wide, and what happened after was more nightmare than memory. He didn't last the hour. Still, the voices try. Every night, they call out, promising anything for a taste of freedom. Sometimes they wear the faces of people I've lost, whisper secrets only I would know. But I've learned to keep walking, to let their words drift harmlessly past. 14 years, and I still don't know what would happen if the gates were left unlocked, or if no one checked the seals. I pray I never find out. Because here, in the darkness between the graves, some things are meant to stay buried, and some voices are never meant to escape. For years, I believed I'd grown immune to the horrors that stalk these grounds, numb to the tragedies that unfold beneath a sky forever starless. Yet every night, as I walk the perimeter and lock the gates, something always finds a way to remind me I'm still capable of fear. The midnight run is our town's darkest rite. A game with no true winners, only survivors, if you can call them that. Here, we are all bound by duty and dread, guarding against things best left unnamed. Change is coming to the cemetery, new mausoleums, a refreshed office, and even a ping-pong table. The ancient oak, older than the state itself, still stands watch, legally untouchable. Strange encounters and old griefs linger, like the night I nearly followed a phantom puppy, only to be saved from a lurking horror by Kyle. Around here, even legends like D.L. Regent's haunted grave feel too close. Daylight brings comfort, but the dead are never far. Hiring the cheapest crew always seems like a good idea until it isn't. You can lay out the rules 100 times, underline the most important one with every threat and warning, but there's always someone convinced they're the exception. The cemetery's rules were simple. No one inside after 8 p.m., gates locked, no entry until morning. No exceptions. At first, everyone played along, but one evening, the workers pushed their luck. We barely got them out, just in time for the night to settle in, for the old routines to resume. As night guards, we learned early that our presence was more than a deterrent. It was a boundary, a thin line separating the living from whatever resented the intrusion. Nights stretched long, filled with patrols and the small comforts of games and conversation, but always with an ear turned for trouble. Trouble came, as it always does, in the form of a contractor desperate to retrieve a forgotten phone. He screamed, rattled the gates, and finally climbed over in a fit of anger, convinced that rules were made for other people. He didn't see the dangers waiting for him. The excommunicated priest with his jagged, tooth-lined wound, the iron and alabaster golem lurking in the shadows. He never stood a chance. The rules existed for a reason. He became a warning, his fate cemented in blood and silence. Since then, no one lingered after hours. Renovations neared completion, and the air grew thick with agitation, a restless energy from the permanent residents, dissatisfied with so many outsiders on their ground. The living offered some comfort, but it was borrowed, temporary. The cemetery had ways of reminding us who really owned the night. Rumors spread about the missing contractor, a thief, a runaway. People accepted the story because it was easier than the truth. But those of us who witnessed what happened knew better. Some rules are carved in stone, and breaking them means becoming part of the legend, another restless soul bound to the earth. As the nights grew quieter, our ranks thinned. But new faces arrived, eager or desperate enough to take the job. I gave them my warning: never speak after the gates lock. If a ghost hears your voice, it crosses over. Then nothing can keep you safe. Jacob listened. He saw things he shouldn't have. The haunted, impaled contractor groaning against the mausoleum wall. He kept his silence and survived the night, proving himself in ways that mattered. Seth, though, wasn't made for this. The sights, the smells, the casual obscenities of the dead, it all became too much. When dawn broke, he knew he was done, and I didn't try to stop him. This work isn't for everyone. The pay is good, but the nightmares are relentless. The cemetery is older than the town itself, a place where stories get twisted and the dead don't always stay buried. Some, too wicked to move on, return as monsters, reminders that the earth here is always hungry. We see them, night after night, haunting the grounds. Killers, thieves, those cursed by their own hate. Most of us become numb, learning to navigate the rules, the dangers, and the secrets the cemetery guards so jealously. We piece together the stories, try to understand the patterns, but the deeper we look, the more the cemetery resists. In my years here, I've watched people vanish, swallowed up by the land or transformed into something unrecognizable. The town weathers each loss with practiced denial, insisting that nothing is wrong, that people just move on. But the truth lingers, heavy and unspoken. As I walk the grounds, I wonder if I'll disappear like the others, or if I'll live long enough to be buried here. Another name on a stone, another ghost in the shadows. In this town, the cemetery calls to us all. Sooner or later, we all answer.